Risk assessment for interviewee safety and emotional impact is a key part of interview preparation, where the investigator actively anticipates what could go wrong and puts measures in place to prevent harm. At this stage, the focus is not only on collecting reliable information, but also on ensuring that the interview process does not create unnecessary physical risk or psychological distress. A well-executed risk assessment reflects a do no harm mindset, recognizing that workplace investigations can be stressful, sensitive, and in some cases emotionally triggering for participants. From a physical safety perspective, investigators must consider whether there are any risks associated with the interviewee's behavior, history, or the nature of the allegation. This begins with a preliminary review of available information, such as personnel files or prior incidents involving threats, aggression, or violence. In high-risk situations, proactive measures may be required, including temporarily removing the subject from the workplace on paid suspension prior to any interview. Safety is further reinforced through proper staffing arrangements, with 2 investigator models often used so that one person can focus on questioning while the other monitors behavior and supports escalation management if needed. The physical environment itself must also be carefully controlled. Interview rooms should be arranged to ensure the investigator has a clear path to exit and is not physically blocked from leaving. Furniture placement should avoid creating barriers between the interviewer and the door, and the room should be free of objects that could pose a safety risk or be used as improvised weapons. In situations assessed as higher risk, coordination with security personnel may be necessary, including establishing discrete signals or procedures for immediate intervention if the situation escalates. In addition to physical safety, investigators must also assess the emotional and psychological readiness of the interviewee. This includes considering whether the individual is fatigued, highly distressed, or under the influence of substances that could impair judgment or memory. In such cases, it may be appropriate to reschedule the interview to ensure the information obtained is reliable and that participation is fair. Investigators should also understand the impact of trauma on memory and cognition. Trauma can affect how memories are stored and retrieved, often resulting in fragmented or nonlinear recollections. Individuals may recall sensory details vividly while struggling to provide a clear chronological account, and this should be anticipated rather than misinterpreted. Timing can also influence the quality of information. In some cases involving trauma, it may be beneficial to allow time for initial emotional stabilization and memory consolidation before conducting a detailed interview. However, this must be balanced against the need to preserve fresh evidence and avoid delays that could impact the investigation. A trauma-informed approach also requires sensitivity to emotional responses during the interview itself. Reactions such as anger, withdrawal, emotional numbness, or nervous laughter should not be automatically interpreted as indicators of deception. Instead, they should be understood as possible expressions of stress or distress. Investigators should remain alert to signs that an interviewee is becoming overwhelmed and be prepared to pause, shift to neutral topics, or terminate the interview if necessary. Providing access to support mechanisms such as employee assistance programs or allowing a support person to be present can further reduce harm, particularly for vulnerable individuals or youth participants. Finally, all risk management measures must operate within clear legal and procedural boundaries. The interviewee must always remain free to leave voluntarily, as restricting movement or using coercive tactics can expose the organization to serious liability, including claims of false imprisonment. Similarly, aggressive or threatening behavior by an investigator can result in allegations of emotional distress and undermine the integrity of the entire investigation. Throughout the process, investigators must maintain a careful balance between empathy and neutrality, ensuring they support the interviewee's well-being without signaling bias or prematurely endorsing any version of events.